Biohacking Healing. Be the best version of you. Performance, technology, transformation.
Hello, David Holden here, Biohacking Healing Coach. And I'm with one of my favorite guests today again, Mr. Brett Elliott, one of the top medical herbalists in Australasia, who's produced a wide range of products. We've talked about Body Cleanse, one of my favorite detox products of all time, which is one of the top 3 in America. And we're going to talk about a new topic today that's very relevant for people who are interested in longevity and staying well and preventing the big 4 nasty diseases: cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, and arthritis. And we're going to talk about blood sugar and how to control blood sugar. We were just talking before we pressed the record button. In New Zealand now, it's estimated 1/3 of the population, 1 in 3, is pre-diabetic. In America, it's 1 in 2 now because of all the massive ultra-processed foods being consumed, sugar coming out of people's ears. So, without further ado, please welcome Brett Elliott.
Hi, David. Thanks for having us on.
It's great to have you with us again, Brett. And so you've been working busily behind the scenes because you've recognized for a long time, as all good clinicians have, how important blood sugar really is. Give us your view of it as a herbalist.
Yeah, well, I think it's one of those things that's hugely underestimated and overlooked, is the fact that our blood sugar can over time become out of balance as a very subtle thing that we don't really notice. But one of the first things we will have with blood sugar imbalances is this gradual fatigue that just sort of creeps up on you. And along with that, the sense of lack of clarity and cognitive function. So when you get low blood sugar, it's quite a common thing people experience, is that they'll just want to sit down and stop. And you'll get that feeling if you stand up too quickly. It's a bit like low blood pressure. You'll feel this fatigue, this loss of cognitive function, inability to concentrate, and also a sense of hunger all the time, constant hunger. So,
and brain fog too. Yeah.
Yes, brain fog. The blood sugar tests don't often show accurately what's going on with your blood sugar. The one I recommend to get is an HbA1c, which gives you a profile over 3 months. Mm-hmm. So it's good to get that one checked. And it's not something they'll often do with your standard blood tests. So it's really important to ask for that one if they haven't done it.
A refinement to that, Brett, because just yesterday I got a patient's HbA1c tested. I do it routinely. Doctors often don't do it. They're just so pushed for time.
That's
what can
right.
you do in 15 minutes after all? And there's no cutoff point in the reference ranges. It's like it should be below 41. So you can be 39 and they say you're okay. Well, hang on a minute. According to my training, if you score over 37, you're pre-diabetic. So you need to start taking action now with exercise targeted, with diet and herbal medicines to correct it. And they don't even tell them they will.
Yeah, and that's right. Another thing is a really sure sign that your blood sugar's out of balance is weight gain. And it's one of the things your body does when it's got too much sugar in the system, is it'll put it into storage.
The diabetic belly, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And of course, we all know that that's one of the precursors to metabolic disease. Metabolic disease is a precursor to cancer. It's one of the most common underlying factors. So you've got this whole cascading effect when your blood sugar's out of balance.
Metabolic syndrome, which we call diabetes 3.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the result of this ongoing pre-diabetes under the radar.
Yes.
That hasn't been diagnosed. And that's what you're saying, that 1 in 3 New Zealanders and probably most westernised countries have this pre-diabetic
Australia's
condition.
the same. If anything, it's even worse.
Yeah. The other thing that people don't often think about is the insulin sensitivity, or the insulin sensitivity goes down over time as you become more and more exposed to insulin. Yeah. And this causes the body to store more fat and more fat and more fat. And so you end up with this inflammatory response from the body. As what happens in the fat is you get this accumulation of garbage in the fat cells. Toxins are stored in the fat cells. And so this constant inflammatory response is increasing all the time. And of course, that's another precursor. Constant inflammation, tissue acidity, precursor to cancer again.
Which makes
So-
any disease process worse. Period. End of story.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so the brain fog, the mental fatigue, the blood sugar imbalances, this whole shooting box, it's just a chronic disease condition, chronic disease pattern.
And it means they can whack patients as soon as their score goes over 41. Oh, you're a diabetic. We'll whack you on insulin.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then that switches the pancreas, islets of Langerhans cells off completely.
Yes, yes.
The longer you're on injectable insulin, the more lazy your pancreas gets.
Yeah. They're way overprescribing the drug metformin as well, aren't they? Yeah. You see a lot
Having
of patients
said
on
that, and for those watching, metformin is one of the top 5 repurposed drugs for cancer. It's actually one of the most beneficial drugs, actually. If you've got uncontrolled blood sugar, metformin definitely helps. And
Yes.
it can help stem pre-diabetes too. But there's other herbs and supplements I'd rather use. But in serious cancer cases, metformin is definitely indicated.
Well, we all know there's a direct link, don't we, to cancer and high glucose in the body.
Yep.
That it basically feeds on that. It's a,
And that's what I think is so bizarre, because when patients go and have chemo, what do they get offered? Tea or coffee? Do you want sugar with that? And biscuits. That's
Yeah.
what they get when they're having chemo. I mean, it's just insane. The disconnect with nutrition is so bad.
it is insane. I've often been in hospital with cancer patients visiting them, and they're being fed jelly as the main food to keep them going is jelly,
Yeah.
which is the most sugary food you can imagine.
And you know why? Because the New Zealand government department's guidelines for budgeting for hospital food is $2 a day
Right.
per patient. $2 a day. What can you get for $2?
Yeah. So one of the cheapest foods, obviously, sugar. Yeah. So that's another reason to really look after your blood sugar, is to prevent those cancer cells from thriving, which they will in a high sugar environment.
So you've done a bit of research on this, and you targeted this early on as being a major problem, which is very smart and very wise. What has your research picked up, and how are you treating people if they come back with an HbA1c that's elevated? How do you treat them?
Well, one of the cool things is to do what we call a liver cleanse. And a lot of people think, well, how do you cleanse the liver? Because the liver is a detox organ. But when your blood sugar's high consistently, the liver starts storing fat, and you end up with a fatty liver, because the liver is central to the whole blood sugar metabolism. It stores the glycogen, which is your sugar store for energy in the liver. And so when you're overloaded with sugars, especially fructose is one of the most common ones used in the food industry.
Yep.
Then you end up with a fatty liver. When you have fatty liver, your blood glucose metabolism gets out of balance. So liver cleansing is really, really important. So our herbal detox program is what I put people on for cleansing the liver.
Yep.
But there are some specific herbs to help to regulate the blood sugar. And one of the core ones it's a very well-known herb in herbal medicine, is gymnema.
Yeah, one of my favourites, yeah.
And of course, what gymnema does is it physically takes away the taste of sugar. So you simply cannot taste it. And it helps to regenerate the cells in the pancreas that are controlling or producing the insulin. So those beta cells.
So it's a very effective treatment, just that one herb alone, but you've combined them with others, haven't you?
Well, the other one I use is called Caralluma, which is not a really well-known
Not
herb.
so well known, is
No.
it? I hadn't studied that at naturopathic college amongst the herbs we did.
No, it's a more sort of a unknown one, really. But it's in India, it's used commonly as a food. It's a cactus.
Right.
And
So is it quite big in Ayurvedic medicine, herbal medicine?
It's more well known in India. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the cactuses and the bitter. If you've ever tasted a cactus,
Oh, yeah, gosh. Oh, they're disgusting.
Extremely bitter.
Yeah.
Aloe vera is another one, interestingly, another cactus, and it's got that very strong bitter flavour.
Yep,
So anything bitter is going to help to regulate your blood sugar.
definitely.
Yeah,
And help detox the liver over time too.
absolutely stimulate the liver function. Yeah. It's interesting that the opposite to sweet is the cure for diabetes. The bitter.
Well, that makes total sense in Chinese medicine with the 5-element theory. Yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah.
Bitter and sour. So even things like a shot of vinegar, a bit of lemon, with your food will help to regulate
One
your
of
insulin.
the best gentle detoxes I do with people who've never detoxed before I put them on your body cleanse is I get them to start drinking a good squeeze of lemon in pure, not tap water every morning as soon as they get up.
Absolutely.
It's a great little biohack for just starting the process of cleansing the liver and cleaning up your diet.
Yeah.
So that one simple thing can be quite profound if you do it every day for months.
Yeah, there's a known reflex, isn't there? When you taste something on your tongue that's sour or bitter, that reflex goes straight through the vagus nerve to the liver.
Correct.
It triggers all the secretions and
Yeah.
enzymes.
It's a useful biohack, a mechanism that we can use to definitely enhance our well-being for sure.
Another herb we use is bitter melon. That's another really well-known one for regulating blood sugar. Mm-hmm. And so it's something that they use as a pickle almost. And pickles have that same effect. That sour, that pickled onions.
Or fermented foods, which have got all the pre and probiotics as well to improve the gut microbiome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The gut microbiome is so important. And another one people often don't think of is cinnamon.
Right. Yeah. Well, we've always used cinnamon for those blood cleaving conditions for sure. It's a very useful herb.
Yeah, and it's one of the most highly researched herbs for controlling blood sugar. There's a lot of research behind that herb. And just a teaspoon of cinnamon a day can make a huge difference to blood sugar and cholesterol. So it does both. Right. Which is it's a fantastic remedy.
Now, you've chosen to put a particular mineral in your combination product for this condition. What have you picked and why?
Chromium.
Yeah.
Well, chromium is involved in the pathway of insulin regulation.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so I use chromium polynicotinate.
Yep. I've helped many patients who they know they're addicted to sugar. They really want to stop. They really want to get rid of excess weight. They want to balance their blood sugar. And they say, look, I keep craving sugar. What can I use? And I say, go on Clinician's Chromium, 1 milligram, 2 a day, breakfast, lunch, or breakfast, dinner. After a bottle or two of that, they say, I just don't crave sugar anymore. It's just completely, it's not on the radar. And one other thing while we're talking about sugar, what's your view on stevia?
As far as I know, stevia is actually beneficial to insulin regulation, and interestingly, it's 200 times or up to 400 times sweeter than sugar. Yeah, but it has zero glucose.
Exactly.
So, it's quite
not
beneficial.
Everyone likes it. I actually really like stevia. I find it very pleasant, enjoy it, but some people find it a bit too sweet.
Yeah, obviously the best thing to do is to grow your own stevia plant and
harvest it organically.
Yeah. Because some of the refined products, obviously, they are a bit overpowering. But no, another good herb, yeah.
Great. So you've got a good so you've got gymnemia, you've got bitter melon. What else did you say you've got in there? You've got chromium in there.
Yeah, the caralluma.
The
bitter melon and the cinnamon as well.
Right, that's a great combination.
So I put them all in the combination there.
Right,
we call it satisfed because it's taking away that sugar craving at the same time as regulating the blood sugar.
And isn't it interesting, Brett, because, I'm a big fan of the carnivore keto diet because of my particular blood type being O negative. And people that convert to a high protein, high fat diet, which we now know, despite all the negative spin from Big Pharma and the cardiac heart associations in America all those decades ago, saying that saturated fat was really bad for you and too much protein can fatigue the kidneys and blah, blah, blah. Yep. We now know it's all BS. There's no science behind that at all. In fact, the science says the exact opposite. Yes. We need saturated fat to feed the brain, our nervous system, our whole microbiome is improved by it, and protein as well. So people that go on these high protein, high fat diets, they start to balance their blood sugars much faster, don't they?
Absolutely. There's a lot of research showing that keto diets do regulate blood sugar. Mm-hmm. And also keto diet, I use them a lot with cancer patients, as they help to starve the cells that feed on sugar.
Great.
So it's a good reason to go on a keto diet.
So a good takeaway here for people is, if you know you've got a bit of extra belly fat, go to your GP and ask for a capital H, lowercase b, capital A, number 1, lowercase c, HbA1c, ask for the test, find out what your numbers are, and then contact me or Brett, and we can give you some options that are non-drug, which will help the pancreas start to develop its better insulin response rather than switching it off and replacing it with a pharmaceutical.
Absolutely. And one of the first things you'll notice is that your brain function and your cognition improves dramatically. It's being that the brain uses over 20 up to 25% of the body's sugar on a daily basis. So getting that sugar balanced and stable, even they've shown it with keto diets, haven't they?
They have.
Cognition dramatically improves. Yes.
Despite anything you want to add to this, Brett, before we wrap it up?
Just one last thing. I think we talk about sugar a lot as being a problem, but the sugar that you get in food, in whole food, is perfectly okay. In fact, you could
whole food, that's the key word, isn't it? Whole food.
Yes, yeah. You could eat as much fruit as you like, so don't worry about that. It's those processed carbohydrates, processed food, that are the problems.
Yeah, the one caveat would be with cancer patients, fructose, sucrose, similar pathway. Keep your fruit intake low. Never drink fruit juice. No. And fizzy drinks is the one thing you just got to avoid like crazy. Yeah,
they say fruit drinks in the supermarket now. They're trying to get away from it, but they've got so much sugar added to them. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre what's out there. When you start reading labels, folks, read nutrition panels, look on where it's got sugars and it has 100 mil or 100 grams. That gives you the percentage. It has to be by law on every packaged food what the sugar content is. If it's above 10% per 100 mil or per 100 gram, don't buy it. Don't eat it.
Yeah.
Great.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Brett. Look, great to have you on the show again. We will talk more. We could talk for hours. There's so many things that we're on similar pages on. Me coming from a naturopathic biochemical view, you coming from a herbalist view. Very complementary, and it's great to see you again. Thanks for coming on the show, Brett.
Always a pleasure, David. You're welcome. Talk soon.
Thank you.